Hello all, and welcome to another fantastic pile of statistics fun time. I don't know why I'm calling it that. I am going to do the chapter for Mystatlab examples for you in this video today. You'll notice that I'm on actually the second page because I wanted to do this first before I showed you how to do some calculations and residuals using the line. I wanted to show you first how to make a line. I took the data that's here from my stat lab and entered it into Minitab. I did this by just typing it. So I'm hoping you'll notice that you literally can just type the values into Minitab. So I've got performance, which it cut it off a little bit here. Maybe I forgot to type the C. Looks like I forgot to C. We'll see where this goes. And then I've got attitude over here. So here I want to form a regression line with final values to 3 significant digits. So I got to be careful here. And, I want to make sure that I've got my X and my Y in the right place. So I want to think about where my explanatory versus response variable goes. So, managers rate employees according to their job performance and attitude. The results of randomly selected employees are given below. So the first thing you gotta ask yourself is who should be my X, who should be my Y? Should my performance be based on my attitude, or my attitude be based on my performance? I'm going to pause this for 1 second because I want to double check my values to make sure they're all correct. Sorry about that. It occurred to me that I hadn't double checked my values to make sure that I had them all in here correctly, which you don't need to watch me do. That's just silly. Anyway, so what I want to do now is I want to decide which one's going to be my X and which one's going to be my Y. So I think that it's a little bit more logical to say that uh, um, attitude is going to predict performance. Now, if you get this wrong, obviously your line won't match anything that's on here, and therefore, ta-da, you should switch your variables. So let's see how you go ahead and produce a least squares regression line using Minitab. So we're going to go up to Stat, Regression. Hey, regression line. And I'm going to use the fitted line plot. Now, I like this one. It's my favorite. There are other ones on here that you can use to produce a line. This just happens to be the one that I enjoy the most. Hold on 1 second. I need to stop my email from. Okay, so for my response here, I'm going to put in attitude because I'm going to use performance to predict attitude, and I'm going to put performance in here for X. I'm going to leave all of the rest of these settings the same. Notice it will do different types of regression models, but we're only interested in linear in Chapter 4, and that's the only kind we're ever going to do, so you'll never need to move this radial button. There are some other options in here, and storage options and graph things that I'm going to do in the other examples for Minitab, but for now we're just going to leave these all set to be the same, and we're going to go ahead and hit OK. So notice it produces this nice pretty graph for you that has a couple different things in it. One, it has a line of best fit graphed, and it has all of your data points graphed, and it gives you your variables in here, and it also gives you right up top here your line, which I got 11.66 plus 1.022 for my performance, or misspelt performane. And that happens to be one of the lines of selection here. Notice that's option D, which is your correct answer. It also gives you the R squared, the S, the R squared adjusted. If you're interested in knowing what S and R squared adjusted are, you'll have to go ahead and take stats 2 to know that. Hey, 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 fun times. The other thing I wanted to show you is that if you shrink this graph down, I'm going to minimize it. It also gives you lots of output here in the session window, and one of the things it gives you is the regression line right here. So if you don't like the graph and you want to copy and paste your equation of the line, I guess I didn't get this set off. You can actually go ahead and just copy and paste it from here, which is kind of nice if you're going to use it for something else. So that's one way to make the regression line. Now I'm going to scroll up and grab this second option. Oops, I hit down. Sorry about that. So this is the regression equation that I have for, I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger. Come on. This is great. For height and number of stories that a building has. So I've entered that data into Minitab as well, and it looks like I have the last one wrong, so I can go ahead and just type that in. And that's exactly how we did this. I typed in the name of the variable right below the column number and then the data. So you're just going to type this all in here, height and stories. Notice these are already labeled as X and Y, so I can go ahead and perform my least squared regression to figure out what the equation line would be. So we're going to go up to Stat, Regression, Fitted Line Plot. And now I want to put as my response stories and then height as my predictor. And I want to keep this all the same, so I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. So there's my line. This doesn't do a great job. So there she is. Woohoo! Line. I don't know what else to say about this. Notice that Minitab always does your intercept first, plus then your slope times your line variable, which is kind of fun. And then you would select the graph that closest resembles this. You should immediately discount A and B since they have a negative slope, and pretty clearly as your building gets taller, you should have more stories. Therefore, it doesn't make sense to have a negative slope. It only makes sense to have a positive slope because this is clearly a positive relationship. All right, so the next few things I need to do is I need to predict some values. So knowing y, find x. All right, so in order to do that, I'm actually going to pop out my handy dandy handheld calculator. Woohoo, there's my TI-84, which it doesn't want to move for some reason. Totally having technology issues today. So what I want to do is I want to predict some values. So if I know that my x value, aka my height, is 105 feet, I can put that into my equation to figure out what my y hat, my predicted number of stories, would be for this equation. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So I want to do 0.058 times the height I just want to predict, it's 503, plus the intercept, which is 8.49, and I can go ahead and hit enter. So that predicts that it will be 37.6667 stories. One of the things you should know about this is that it's not really possible to have 0.6667 stories. That makes no sense. So we're going to go ahead and round this up to 38. Pretty trippy. Let's scroll down here. Next, I want to do the same thing, but for when the x value is 6.47. You can just go ahead and enter this in again and type it all in, but I'm super lazy, so I'm going to go ahead and hit second and then entry, and that'll bring up what I just entered in. I'm going to arrow over to that 503 and go ahead and put in this new x value that I want to explore. So I want 647, and then go ahead and hit enter. And then I get 46, and here I'm going to round down to 46 stories because this is just about 46 stories. So it's probably like 46, and then there's like your roofing. I don't know what that is. It's fine. All right. Now let's go ahead and do what happens when I have 345 feet. So we're going to go ahead and hit second, and then entry, and then I'm going to put in 345. Hit enter, and I get 28.5 feet, which, that doesn't make any sense. That should be 29 right here. 29 stories. I think I selected the wrong answer here. Good job, me. It's not like I teach this class or anything. Or good job, not Minitab, Mystatlab. It's cool, it's cool, it's cool, it's cool, it's cool. All right, I'm super obnoxious when I get on here. I really need to rein it in a little. So now we're going to go ahead and do 728, hit enter, and I get just above 50 stories, so I'm going to call it 51. So that's how you can get some predicted values for some different x's using the TI-83 calculator or any calculator in front of you. You're just putting in some values for x and coming up with y hat, the predicted value. Notice it doesn't just call this y, it's the predicted value for y, which we call y hat. Hope you enjoyed this video about doing some examples. And I'm going to do some more here in a minute, but if I make these longer than like 10 minutes, it totally implodes.